there will be 2.14 billion digital buyers in the year 2021. Now that number has grown over the last 2 decades exponentially, and more so now than pretty much ever before. As many businesses, I'm sure, felt the bite of COVID, of people not being on the street, not coming into their stores, not operating the way that they normally do, e-commerce sales have jumped exponentially. And that's something that I don't see reverting back. Once you kind of get into the digital realm, once you see the capabilities that are there, if you do that, I don't think you ever go backwards. And as not only as the business owner, but also as the shopper. The convenience of being able to shop at home, being able to compare prices, being able to compare multiple different products at your fingertips and at your ease and at all times of the day. We're not dealing with business hours any longer. Now we can make sales throughout the entire 24/7 the clock spinning. So it's a more efficient way for people to shop, more efficient way for people to buy, but it can also throw a little bit of wrenches into the system when you're dealing with logistics on shipping and credit card processing and taxes and all kinds of fun stuff like that. But it's something where if you don't undertake it, I guarantee your competition has or will, and there's no reason to be left kind of in the lurch when it comes to that. So how do you get started? So there's 1,000 different e-commerce platforms that you can build on. Here are a few of the more common ones. From BigCommerce, Shopify, Squarespace. Those are kind of the 3 largest ones. They have templated versions where you can kind of create your own website on there, upload products, but it's mostly templated. So you tend to be kind of stuck in whatever box that they make for you. They do allow some bit of creativity when it comes to it if they have some paid, what they call themes and different web designs, but the most part you're kind of stuck in whatever platform they have. They also tend to have certain vendors for credit card processing and shipping modules, things like that are already kind of built in. Most of them are kind of the most common, so odds are they probably are the platforms you're using anyway. But if you have something that a specific vendor or maybe a local credit card processor you're hoping to use, that's something to consider when you're looking at those different platforms. One thing that these 3 and others provide that some other things don't is the shopping cart feature. So I've seen some e-commerce sites that will operate like with a PayPal button. If you've got a PayPal account set up on a simple, free PayPal account, you can create a product, have a button, place it on there, but then someone can only purchase one type of item at a time. For instance, I've got a wild rice company that sells 15 different versions of different sizes and bags and quantities of wild rice. And I might be able to buy 5 1-pound bags, but I can't buy 5 1-pound bags and a 5-pound bag. And, I can't buy multiple things at once because I don't have a shopping cart to get it into. So it's something to think about when you're setting up your own business, is if I have multiple different products that people may be wanting to buy different items at the same time, then a shopping cart feature is a real handy one. Also, if you want to start scaling it larger, so if we're starting off and we've got 3 products, maybe the simplest version is fine. But as you continue to grow and expand your product line, it might be something that's better and easier to start off with something that's more sizable and scalable than what you have on a simple platform like that. The other option that a lot of our businesses go is to have a custom built website. And this can be on different web developers, but we operate in WordPress, which is the most common website builder that there is. There are ways and things that you can do to that to implement online shopping through that. And then you open up a lot more doors in terms of the functionality of your website, the look of your website, how everything lays out, navigation, things like that. So it gives you a lot more customability if you have something built by a provider. If you're looking to kind of just get started, play with it yourself, some of these other platforms are perfectly fine. They do the job. Some very large businesses operate on them, but it is restricting a little bit when it comes to those. So usually when you get started, you decide do I need a shopping cart or not? And then how I want my website to be built. If I want it kind of templated out and already set, or if I want to talk to a provider and have it kind of custom made and built for me. And there are many platforms out there. So if you see one or dealt with one that is not of these three, believe me, they are all pretty valuable and viable. I keep hitting the right, there we go. All right. So we decided we're going to create an e-commerce website. Now we actually have to get traffic to our e-commerce website. Again, 2021, all sales, 17.5% of all retail sales will be done online. Again, this number is growing every single day. So if you aren't there yet, it's already 20% of the market that you aren't even tapping into, or nearly 20%. But just having an e-commerce site is not the end all, because until somebody actually lands on your site and decides to shop for something there, it really doesn't do you a whole lot of good. So there are many pieces that go into that when you're creating a website. First off is your search engine optimization, or SEO. This is your organic ranking. So again, we'll use the wild rice one, for example. If somebody's searching for a wild rice provider or local grower near me, if you don't have your website optimized for search engines, the odds of you showing up and ever being landed on are nil. So you have to make sure that your website, again, is set up properly, which going through those platforms are custom built. Make sure that those are done correctly, that you have your products listed correctly. The nice thing about doing something with a provider or some of those platforms is they allow you to upload all of your products directly and creating product pages, which is great for SEO. So photos, descriptions, pricing, details, other things like that are easily editable and changeable, because as a retailer or a business, I'm sure product line changes, things get discontinued, you add new products, you want to be able to edit that pretty easily. And doing that through a platform that allows you to optimize those for your search engine. So if somebody looks for a specific shirt or pair of shoes or rice or whatever it may be, that your product can be found above your competitors. That's the whole part of search engine optimization. And without it, if you don't get traffic to the site, you can't sell anything. So you need to have that for your organic. And then marketing it as well. So this would be more, advertising on either social media, on Google Ads, on multiple other platforms of marketing your website, because now you need to drive traffic there to convert the sale. Long gone in times of the days of having the storefront, the people are wandering around downtown and happen to just stop in because they're window shopping. Now people are searching online. If you're not marketing it, if you're not optimized through search engines, you don't exist. So you're kind of stuck in a back alley someplace that somebody has to stumble across. So making sure you've got those things set up correctly is going to be key to make it successful, because you can spend all the money in the world on building a site. If you don't get someone there, it doesn't do you much good. And then now that they're on your website is tracking sales, tracking conversions. So again, traffic to your site is great, but we need them to actually purchase something in order to make them legitimate. So right now, roughly the conversion rate on an e-commerce site on average is 2%, meaning 1 out of 50 visitors on an e-commerce site actually make a purchase. Seems very low, but if you could possibly get that to 3%, you can double your business, or 50% you're increasing your business. And knowing what people and what items are being converted on is key. This is where you start to track, setting up analytics on your site to see, if I ran an ad on Facebook and they came to my site, but nobody bought anything, well, maybe I need to change my ad, maybe I need to change my product, maybe I need to change my target audience. Tracking what actually works is instrumental to getting any e-commerce site being viable and working properly. Because if you don't track your sales, if you don't track conversions, you have no idea what you did is right or wrong. So you're going to end up spending a lot of money trying to guess at what's correct when you can track it down. And the nice thing about e-commerce is we can show an exact dollar amount. I did $500 in advertising. I got $3,000 in sales. It's a direct correlation. It's nice to see kind of a return on investment directly from that. And as you start to look at that, as you run ads, as you start optimizing your site, you'll see what works, what doesn't. You edit, you repeat, you try it over again, you keep working until you continue to grow that business and grow it out there. Because e-commerce now, you're not limited just to the people in your area. Now you're selling nationwide, worldwide, statewide, whatever target audience you think you have, whatever you want to ship to. You open the doors to so many more consumers that you're not just geographically located to, because we can sell to anyone. So making sure you continually edit and update that, keep it optimized, be greatly in your favor. But how much does it cost to set up e-commerce? So now this is something that tends to vary, obviously, considerably, but you're gonna have three major pieces of this that's going to come into your cost. This is not gonna count products and licensing and other pieces like that. Specifically on the website itself. The largest upfront cost will be, either purchasing your platform through there, paying a company to design your website, setting up hosting, getting your domain registered. All of those pieces is going to be your upfront cost. From there, you're going to be moving into the actual maintenance and updating of the site. As an e-commerce site, depending on how you're going to process payments and those types of things, you may need certain levels of encryptions and stuff like that. Most of those are provided by the service provider that you are asking about, but again, that can depend a little bit on exactly how your setup is. But you also want to have time to update products, again, pricing changes, descriptions, photos, adding new products, removing old ones, things like that. You need to account for that time to be in there, because you don't want somebody to try and buy something that doesn't exist anymore. You also don't want it listed for $5 less than you did last year because you forgot to update the price. Making sure you have time and a little bit of budget set aside to update and manage that. Making sure that any website updates and plugins and whatever else might be in there for security reasons continue to be updated and maintenance. There may be some licenses involved depending on what type of platform you're running. In most cases, if you were to use a custom build type of thing with your provider, those pieces are kind of taken control by them. But if you were going to do it by yourself, it's something to make sure you account for, knowing if there's a yearly license fee for your platform or things like that that may pop up. And the one that is kind of the most frustrating reoccurring piece is the payment processing. So everything you're online is, well, I shouldn't say everything, but the vast majority is going to be through credit card processing. There are a number of credit card processors that allow to do online transactions, from PayPal to Stripe to, there's literally thousands of them. If you do own a business now and you have a POS system or a credit card processor set up in your physical location, they may be able to run online transactions. Some do, some do not, so you'd have to check with them. For the most part, your payment processing is typically going to run around 3% per transaction, but that can vary. There are other fees that can be applied, so it changes with each different provider. For the most part, you're going to be around 3% for each transaction, but there are other auxiliary things, especially if you have a physical location, you might have other fees involved in that. But you can just about assume that any time I'm, whether it's $1 or $1,000 that I'm paying 3% to just the payment processor. Something to account in your pricing. If you want to change an online price to be different than a price at your physical location, you can do that here, but something to certainly be aware of before you get started. All right, going back a little bit to your website itself. So if your website now, if you have one, you're looking to set up e-commerce, and it's sad to say this, but there are many sites out there yet that are not mobile friendly. I run into them almost daily. Right now, generally 70 to 80% of all website traffic is only on the mobile phone. So if you think that who cares, it looks good on the desktop, that matters to your consumer a lot more than it does to yourself. And just about 73% of all digital sales will be done on the phone. So not having a site or having a site that is not mobile friendly is going to greatly hinder you in the future, if it hasn't already, in terms of being able to make any sales online. So if you have an existing website, if you're looking to possibly add some e-commerce to, if it's not mobile friendly, do that first. It is money well spent. Whatever the cost to get your site up to mobile friendly standards is what you need to do, because not only will you make it a lot easier for someone to make a purchase. If anyone has ever tried to go on a non-mobile friendly site with their cell phone and search through it and find things and click on things, and it's frustrating and annoying, and you kick everybody off of there and you don't get the sale and you're wondering what's going wrong. Mobile friendly is the most important part of a website at all these days, but especially in e-commerce when there's so much money changing hands over the phone. There's no reason to stop yourself from getting it because you didn't want to make a mobile friendly site or you didn't update your site. So step one, make sure your site's mobile friendly. Maybe I should move this to the beginning, but especially when you're trying to do e-commerce sales, because so many people are going to be trying to purchase things on their phone. All right, so kind of in closing, just kind of recap a little bit of where we're at. Setting up your site, if you're just getting started, there are platforms out there that are kind of set up to be e-commerce sites. Like I said, there are examples, but these are not all inclusive. The Shopify is a big commerce. They work just fine and they can do a lot of things, but they are limited in terms of what you can do in terms of design and what you can do in terms of your SEO and things like that, because they're kind of already templated and set up. Getting something that's custom built, it gives you a lot more leeway. There may be some other expenses involved in doing that, but it gives you a little bit more leeway in terms of functionality, how the site looks, how many products, things like that. Regardless of either system you decide to set up, it needs to be optimized in terms of search engines. You have to be able to be found in order to convert traffic that is on your site into a sale. You will probably, especially early, need to be marketing your site through ad platforms, either through Google, Bing, social media, even in your storefront, things like that. And then making sure that you understand the cost that's going to be going into it. Some people I've seen have run different pricing on their online platform versus their physical platform, either because of transaction fees, shipping costs, other auxiliary pieces that get put in there. Sometimes they're lower because they don't have to have staff in their store to sell it, but knowing where those expenses and costs are going to be coming from is a definite big part of this, because you can edit and change prices and do those types of things. One thing I didn't really mention is setting up your shipping modules. So if you're with a UPS account or FedEx account, in most or all of your e-commerce platforms, you can set that up to calculate shippings on your account. So you're not having to deal with all the logistics of shipping labels and pricing and those pieces. You can also get many other add-on features depending on exactly how you operate. If you're selling a physical good, a lot of the shipping, if you're looking for donations, if you're a nonprofit that's looking to have somebody make a donation on your site, that's essentially an e-commerce site as well. So if you're looking to do that, it's a different, we're not worried about shipping modules then, we're looking about how to take credit card processing, and those things are going to be involved. Security of the website, like I said, if you built through one of the platforms that are kind of built for e-commerce, or have it something custom built by another vendor, security-wise should not be an issue. Most of the security comes with your credit card processing, and that is typically taken by the credit card processor themselves. So if you've got a vendor that does that, usually those security features are taken care of when you're doing that. But it's something you definitely want to confirm with them. Anytime you have somebody's personal information, credit card information, for the most part of these sites, it's not saved on your site, but know that before you get into it. It's kind of a caveat, because you're going to want to go through. But again, if you go through a reputable vendor, that should not be a problem. I think that's kind of the gist of everything I've got thus far. I don't know, we don't have a huge calling in here at the moment, but if we have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for anyone that's that has one.
Does anybody have a question for Nick at all? Okay, Nick, well, I think that's it then. Thank you for your time, and that was very informational, and hoping that we can get it out to more people.
Well, I appreciate it. If anyone does, or if you get something off recordings, certainly, just email me. We'll try to answer as quick as we can. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having us,
Thanks.
and we'll see you next time. Yep.
Yes, thanks, Nick.